Hello, and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we're playing a deck that I enjoy quite a lot, which is Depths. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that in December I did all sorts of weird and wonderful Depths builds, but today we're just going to play a relatively sort of stock turbo Depths list. But we've made a few tweaks to try and improve our matchup in the meta at the moment, because there's an awful lot of solitudes and things like that floating around. So, what does this deck aim to do? Well, this card, Dark Depths, lets you make a 20/20 if you can remove all the ice counters on it. We can do that with either Vampire Hexmage or Thespian stage copying it, and then the copy is a Dark Depths which doesn't have any counters on because it enters with the counters on, so this will become a 20/20. To facilitate this, we've got 4 crop rotations, 4 Sylvan Scrying, and we've got a bunch of other things to try and keep us alive, to try and mess with our opponent's ways of getting our 20/20. So we're just trying to make a 20/20, keep it alive for 1 turn cycle to get the damage in, basically. And that's it. So, how are we keeping it alive? Not of this world. This is free to cast on Mana. It counters spells or abilities, so it can counter the flicker off of Touch the Spirit Realm, as well as just countering removal spells or countering the Solitude trigger, because that's not a spell. So this is the best protection we have. Lists used to run 3 of these. I think you definitely want 4 if you're trying to play a Mana game. We've also got 2 Sylvan Safekeeper in the main, so we can sacrifice lands to give our Mana Shroud. We have a few Pithing Needles here to stop Wastelands from ruining our day and also stop Karakas. We have 1 Stifle, so normally these lists would have more Stifle because we're the sort of the rainbow mana base one, rather than green-black. So normally they'd have more Stifles, but I only wanted the 1 Stifle because I wanted to include an additional Safekeeper and an additional Not of This World. That's where the cuts for the Stifle have come here. We've also changed up the discard. We've only got the 4 discard spells because, again, we're trying to... That's where we've managed to gain ourselves another Sylvan Safekeeper. So that's pretty much the deck. We've got a load of fast mana and Spirit Guide and Lotus Petals as well. And we can make a 20/20 as early as turn 1. We've got a whole package of lands as well. So we've got these Urborgs. We've got 4 of these because they're so good at allowing us to just turn to Mana by playing this into Dark Depths and then casting the Hexmage. The Urborgs also make our Gemstone Mines and our Mana Confluences better so that we don't have to take damage or remove counters to tap for mana. Yavimaya is the same deal. Also, if you have Thespian stage, Yavimaya, Urborg, and the Dark Depths are either of these 2, and the Dark Depths allows you to make the guy on with just 3 lands. We've got a Bojuka Bog because we've got crop rotation, so it's free graveyard hate and it's also an on-color land, so that's pretty good. Boseiju, again, an on-color land that has some pretty useful text. And because we're running 4 Sylvan Scrying, we can go and find it. We have 1 Ghost Quarter because we're going to be naming Karakas with our Pithing Needle. We're going to be naming Wasteland, with our Pithing Needles. Ghost Quarter is just a land that can let us blow up something like a Karakas or whatever. So it's just a useful thing. We can also blow up opposing Wasteland. So this is just our Wasteland, effectively. We have a Karakas, because sometimes it's going to be legends we want to bounce. And we have a Sejiri Steppe that we can go and find to give our Mana protection at instant speed using a crop rotation, or to give it protection at sorcery speed using a Sylvan Scrying, or just playing it as our land for a turn in order to get through blockers. That's pretty much it for the main deck. Make a guy, kill our opponent with said guy. Pretty straightforward. Sideboard-wise, we've got Tower of the Magistrate, so when the Sejiri Steppe is bad, the Tower of the Magistrate is usually good, because this means you can get through Thopter tokens especially. We have 2 Flusterstorm, so this and the Stifle are the only reasons we're playing blue, but the Rainbow Mana base means we don't have to mess around with fetch lands and things and getting caught out by Stifles and so on and so forth. A couple of Dismember, sometimes we're going to need to kill creatures. Lay Down in the Void is just the best graveyard hate you can play right now. It buys you usually 2 turns against Reanimator, which should be enough for us to make a 20/20 and kill our opponent. A couple of Collector Roofs because we really want to Collector Roof people out and stop them from playing scary artifacts and tapping all their artifacts. So this is going to be good against 8 cast, and it's also going to be good against Storm decks. We can play it turn 1 because we have a load of acceleration. A couple of Force of Vigors, pretty straightforward for like prisony decks, for 8 cast, etc, etc. And we have 2 more Sylvan Safekeeper. So post board, if our opponent's only way of really interacting with us is going to be removal, we have got 8 things that blank removal, as well as Thoughtseize and stuff. So that should be pretty good. That's the theory. And we're going to test it today because I like making 2020s and beat people down. So, don't really think we've got anything more to say about the list. If you like Dark Depths lists, check out my December playlist. I think it's got 12 videos, so the 12 depths of December of all sorts of different builds making Marital Age tokens. Alright, if you are enjoying my content, or you're even new here, like, comment, subscribe. These are free ways that you can help me out. And if I can hit 1,000 subscribers, I can start getting money back, which means I can play weirder and more wonderful decks without worrying about burning all my play points. Okay, let's jump into a league with Turbo Depths. We're on the play for round 1, which is usually where you want to be. Our hand does not produce a Marital Age, so we are going to mulligan it. This hand produces a turn 2 Marital Age with protection. So we keep this. Now the question is, what do we put back? So if we put back the Knot of this World, then our guy can just get eaten up by removal. If we put back the Pithing Needle, then our lands are susceptible to Wastelands. I'm going to put back the Pithing Needle because our plan should be Ghost Quarter, Lotus Petal. And then we're going to use the Lotus Petal to turn our Ghost Quarter into an Urborg. And then we're going to play this Dark Depths and play this Hexmage. That is our plan. So the Pithing Needle goes back, we say done. Now, there's several ways our hand can come undone here, but killing our opponent on turn 3 feels like a reasonable place to be. Let's play this, and that'll do. Let's see what our opponent does. It's a very weird selection of cards we faced off against, so hopefully that will make our opponent think for a bit longer and maybe come to the wrong conclusion. A Marsh Flats, a Bauble. So this looks like the Epic Storm would be my assessment on this one. We can do this in our turn, so there's no reason to do it now. And we get to float the 1 mana in case we draw a 1 mana spell here. Sylvan Safekeeper. It's not the most helpful. So we'll add 1, we'll add a green, we will crop rotate this away. Now if I've got the wrong read on what my opponent's doing, then we're in trouble, I guess. But Mishra's Bauble and Marsh Flats are cards you don't see particularly often together. And it's not as if our hand really has the opportunity to let us wait an Underground Sea. This doesn't change what I thought it was, because this is a card that is in Epic Storm. So we are looking for an Urborg. We play out this. Black, black. Play this. Do I think our opponent is a Wasteland deck? Can we afford to play around it? If this is something else, like some sort of Grixis tempo deck that maybe has Stifles, I really don't want to crack this now in the face of a potential Stifle. Like the only other deck that I could think of that would have Bauble and Underground Sea would be a deck that would be like Bauble, Marsh Flats, Underground Sea would be some sort of deck that's trying to leverage. Okay, so if they cast a spell here, we will just pop this now. Okay, this is a Brainstorm. I'm pretty sure I've got the read on what my opponent's playing because I watch Bryant Cook's channel because he is an excellent content creator and he's been playing this deck and doing well with it recently. And it's quite an unusual selection of cards to see together. The Marsh Flats, Bauble, Underground Sea, that I think it makes sense that that's what it is. So they have to kill us this turn through a Knot of this World, which is certainly possible, but the Epic Storm is a slightly slower deck usually than like the Epic Gamble, because it's got all these galvanic relays that let it just smash Delver to pieces because you get to just draw a load of cards they can't do much about. But they know they have to go this turn, so they're going to have to choose slightly different lines than they maybe would do if we weren't facing them down with a big threat. They could go for like a Burning Wish and some sort of bounce spell, but I don't think that's a great idea for them. But if they can do that and Galvanic Relay, then maybe that'll work. Dark Rituals. This is like an Ad Nauseam. Or it could be a Burning Wish for... Okay, a Wishful Talisman. This should be enough to put an Ad Nauseam on a stack, which should be enough to win them the game. There's the Ad Nauseam. Let's see what they're revealing here. So they could do an Orange Chant line and stop us from attacking. What they've revealed so far does not win them the game this turn. Like it could do with the Brainstorm, but... Okay, the Burning Wish gives them enough here because they can play out their Moxes and their Rite of Flames, and then they can Burning Wish for Tendrils of Agony, and then crack all the Lion's Eye Diamonds to make sure they've got plenty of mana. So we are just dead here. So we'll just yield through this turn. Just so you can have a quick look at how the deck operates. It's a beautiful deck. it's very hard to play. Alright, so yeah, they're playing all this stuff. I'm not going to bother clicking off the things they're playing just because we've already identified that they have the win, and they've even got it through a silence as well. Right, so we skipped ahead a little bit here now, and our opponent looks like they're about to put the Burning Wish on the stack, and then crack their Lion's Eye Diamonds in response, and then we're going to get Tendrils. So there we go. I just let them play it out a little bit so that you could see that in case you weren't unfamiliar with the deck. All right, second game. Let's have a look. So we don't have a million things to this. We've got a couple of Flusterstorm, and we've got his Collector Roofs. These are both very good in this matchup. Graveyard Hate, they have 1 Echo of Eons in their main deck and 1 Echo of Eons in their sideboard. Is that really worth messing around with? The Pithing Needle can name Wishclaw Talisman, which can definitely slow them down. I don't think this is actually a matchup where we're going to need things like Sylvan Safekeeper at all, so they can go. The Stifle hits the Storm trigger, so I definitely want to keep that on board. We can probably trim some of these Not of This World, because our opponent is just faster, so they're not going to be trying to mess with our Marit Lage. You can bring in Leyline in the Voids here, but I don't think it's worth doing. It interacts pretty badly with our plan. Now, we could play them instead of Not of This World if we think that our Marit Lage is going to be fine, which I think it probably will be, to be honest. But then there's a question of, would I rather have these Force of Vigors if they play stuff out? I think I'd rather have that than the Ley Lines because of how how their deck operates. So there is a bit of a nombo with Collector Roof and Lotus Petal, but it hurts our opponent way more than it hurts us. So this is we can't cast the Thoughtseize on turn 1, so this hand isn't great. I think we should mulligan it. This has Thoughtseize and Pithing Needle, but we're going to need some help finding some land to cast these Flusterstorms. Flusterstorm is less good than it used to be because the silence is what they're playing now, which is very strong. But the Thoughtseize here is nice. We just need to find any green source. It's probably fine. So I think we keep this. I'm probably getting rid of a Flusterstorm here. So let's Thoughtseize our opponent. What are they working with over here? So they've got their own Thoughtseize here. If they Thoughtseize us, what are they going to take is the question. So we've got the Wishclaw Talisman covered with a Pithing Needle. But if we take if we take anything but the Thoughtseize, we probably lose the Pithing Needle. Now look at our hand and see that we can't cast the Flusterstorm. So I think the correct play, weirdly, is to take the Thoughtseize and try and get our opponent to play out the Wishclaw Talisman and waste a turn that way. I'm not feeling very confident. These sorts of matchups tend to be very poor for the Dark Depths deck because your opponent's combo is just quicker than a 2020. They don't have to use combat. Okay, so drew a Lotus Petal. So they're probably incentivized to cast this Wishclaw Talisman this turn, just to get it on the board. Or they might want to keep their Lotus Petal up for the purposes of Metalcraft is the other option. Okay, so we got the Wishclaw Talisman out. So we got the play we wanted from our opponent there. So that's favoured us quite nicely. A Gemstone Mine. So we have our green source now. So this is also a blue source for the purposes of Flusterstorm. So we're going to cast this one and name Wishclaw Talisman. And now we have this Flusterstorm to back us up with. And we can also go and turn this into Dark Depths and make a 2020 next turn. So there's a Bloodstone Mire. Right, this game is winnable for us. I'm not so sure about game 2 though. Game 3. Black, black. Another Wishclaw Talisman. Sure, that's fine. Kind of tempted to not crop rotation just yet, to be honest. Okay, that's pretty interesting for us. So we can play out stage here and go and get a 2020 end of turn. Or we can wait one more turn. So we've got a couple of options here. I think we're going to play this out though and see how we go. Because we don't really want to leave our Flusterstorm down. So we might have to give our opponent one more draw, but that does mean it's one more chance to find a silence. Like the Burning Wish can go and get pulverized here, and then they can get rid of all of our stuff. So we need to work out how much mana they're going to have after casting. Okay, so we got this Dark Ritual. They got 2 cards in hand, so we know what they are. So we're just going to counterspell this Ad Nauseam. This is actually a pretty good play from our opponent here, because they can go and get the pulverize if they want to next turn off with their Burning Wish, and then they can blow up our things and just activate their Wishclaw Talismans because we don't actually have the win this turn. So it's going to be tight, I think. Okay, another Gemstone Mine. Okay, so we'll play out our Dark Depths. Our opponent's got 1 turn to do some stuff. So we know they have a Burning Wish that can get pulverized or it can get something for 1 mana. We can play around a bounce spell, and they have to do this at sorcery speed, so we'll know what they're getting. So if they get something like Void Snare, we can go and use this to get our Sejiri Steppe. Although they can only get sorcery with this, so they won't be able to actually interact with our Dark Depths at all. So this looks like a pulverized line used with 1 mana floating. So it depends what card they've got in their hand. Depends on how good these Wishclaw Talismans are going to be. Yeah, so there's the Burning Wish. What are you going to grab? It has to be a sorcery, so they can't interact with our Dark Depths. Sorry, with our Merit Lage. Okay, so we got game 2, like I thought we might. I'm pretty sure we lose game 3, though. So this is the one where we can possibly board in the ley lines, just as something to have. But honestly, I think we're just supposed to leave it as is. Like, if they get us, they get us, right? We have these Force of Vigors for turn 0. And what the plan is with those is blowing up. So as you saw, they play Wishclaw Talismans out. So we can hopefully nab one. This has tools that can stop us from losing the game. And we're not far away from having things that win us the game. So I think we keep this one, but I don't like it, if you know what I mean. Like Vampire Hexmage can also blow up, take all the counters off a Wishclaw Talisman. Like if our opponent's got a turn 1, no hand we're gonna draw is gonna make any difference here, because they can sequence around a Force of Vigor. Okay, so we're gonna get Thoughtseize, which is probably gonna take our Thoughtseize, could take our Flusterstorm. I suspect it's one of those two, because they'll look at our hand and see that we don't really have anything resembling a kill. Oh, they took the Hexmage. Wow, that's fascinating. They're setting him for a longer game. This means they're probably looking at chaining some Galvanic Relays along the line. What have we got here? Oh, they're casting a Silence in our turn. Sure. So this means we can't Thoughtseize them. So we play out the Mana Confluence because this gives us the ability to Flusterstorm. But if our opponent's got Silence into more stuff, that's fine. Well, not fine, but it's something that we're just going to have to deal with. They only have 4 cards, though. Right Flame. Burning Wish. They're casting Burning Wish. Storm count is 2. I think we'll hit this with a Flusterstorm. Flusterstorm's not getting much better. So they can Dark Ritual to pay for this, but then they just have a Burning Wish. Whatever they Burning Wish for, sorry. So our opponent is a little bit low on resources now. 1 card in hand. I would like to see what that card is, to be honest. Oh, that's a very good draw, isn't it? Let's hit them with a Thoughtseize. Yeah. That's definitely a thing that happened, isn't it? Sure. So now we are on... We can Boseiju their lands away because they don't usually have a basic in their deck, if I remember rightly. So they're on the try and draw Lion's Eye Diamond. So we've basically helped them out here. A Rite of Flame. So this is to cast the Echo of Eons. But because they cast the Rite of Flame, we get to stop it now. Now we have to win the game at some point before they rebuild. So that's our next challenge. So we've gotten rid of the Echo of Eons. So this gets the Echo of Eons is exiled now. So you don't have to worry about that one. A Ghost Quarter. Right, well, let's see if they've got any non-basics or not. Any basics. Okay, I was about to Boseiju them, which they knew we had in hand. So we had a weird game where we didn't even try and win the game. We just stopped our opponent from winning the game. Yeah, so we're a ways off of winning the game there. But we get to shut down their... We get to take away all their lands. They've got no cards in hand and no lands in play. And we get to Pithing Needle away their Wishclaw Talisman, which is why they scooped up then. So a bit tricky, but we found a line. So let's go on to round 2. Okay, so our opening hand, we're on the draw. What does this hand do? Quite a lot, right? So we go land, land. So this makes a turn 1 Merit Lage with protection, right? Because we have Mana Confluence plus Lotus Petal. That gives us black, black to cast this. Spirit Guide, Crop Rotate this into Dark Depths. Not of this world. So we'll keep this. Okay, our opponent's mulligan to 5 cards. A Chalice is pretty annoying for us here. If they're like an initiative deck and mulliganing. But we beat a removal spell. And we kill on turn 2. We're living in a world where that's not always good enough. Cavern of Souls. Naming Goblin. Oh, goblins, you say. Interesting. So our opponent is a Wasteland deck. So what we're going to do is we're going to play this out. We're going to play this out. And we're going to go black, black. We're going to exile this. Rotate this away. Get ourselves a Dark Depths. Play this out. And we're going to do this now because our opponents said goblins. So if they are a goblins deck, that means they're going to have wastelands. So I'd rather just present the Marrowlage. Now this could just be like a weird thing to mess with us. Okay, so we got the concession. Are they on goblins? Like, I guess we assume they're on goblins because they did name goblins. So, what do we worry about with goblins? Messing with our lands is pretty annoying. But we have the Pithing Needles for that, and the Stifle is pretty relevant here. Not sure how much we need Thoughtseizes. Like, we can slow down their scariest hand. I think I'd rather have a couple of Dismember. And they can be, like, Collector Roofing. I think I'd rather just have these guys that we can put into play that can block if we need to. Yeah, we'll try it like this. The logic being that if they're goblins, they're going to be... I use 6 seconds on my clock. No, sorry, 1 minute and 6 seconds on my clock. So what does this hand do? So this is turn 1, we play 2 lands. Turn 1, we play this. Turn 2, we play the other land. And we have 1, 2 mana to put into things. So we need 1 more mana for this to go off. But we have the Pithing Needle, so I think this is fine. We have the Pithing Needle and the Dismember. Are they actually goblins? Or are they messing with us? They are goblins, sure. So we're going to play out our... It doesn't really matter which land we play out here, does it? So we'll play out Thespian Stage and Lotus Petal. The reason for the Lotus Petal is if our land gets wastelanded here. If our land gets wastelanded, we can crop rotate it away into something useful. Probably just another version of itself. So we're just turning the Lotus Petal into a permanent mana source instead. We could have just sacrificed this to play a Pithing Needle. But the upside is, if they don't have a wasteland, we're in a much better spot. Another lackey, sure. Sylvan Safekeeper. So we want to cast a Sylvan Safekeeper, I think. Because it blocks. So, green. Play this guy out. And then we'll play our Pithing Needle. We'll name Wasteland. So in an emergency, we can, like, play some stuff around. We've still got this crop rotation sitting in our back pocket if we need it. Do I want to sacrifice... So we make a 20/20 next turn. How scary is our opponent's turn going to be? If we sacrifice a land, how likely are we to win this game? Probably not very. I think we just have to let that go. They've only got 3 cards in hand. Now, if they have a Muxus, then a bit yikes for us, but those be the breaks. So Dead and Gone is one of the things that we need to keep the Not of This World in for, in case you're curious about that. What you got for us then? Muxus. Okay, so it's the worst case scenario in terms of what they put in. Earwig Squad. This Proud Cost wasn't paid. So this is quite a lot of damage coming our way next turn. Chance of the Void for 1. This means we probably have to act now. So I think we pay green for this. And what are we sacrificing? So if we get an Urborg, it means that we can draw... if we draw Dark Depths, we can win. So we can get the Dark Depths here, and we'd have to draw Urborg. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Urborgs in here. But, yeah, so I think that means we're supposed to get the Dark Depths, right? Because that way we're more likely to draw one of our 5 hours here, rather than our 4 hours. Let's see how we do. Dismember. So we can dismember this, which puts us to 11. And we take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we're not dead if we cast this Dismember. So I guess we... No, we are dead actually because we go to 11, right? Yeah, sorry, we're just dead. Let's just concede and move on. So, on the play, would I rather have a Sylvan Safekeeper or some Thoughtseizes? Sylvan Safekeeper does protect us from Dead Gone, but that's a 3 mana play. They have Sting Scourger as well. Maybe I'd rather have a couple of Thoughtseize on the play. Yeah, we'll try this. So this is a turn 3 20/20. Now that might not be good enough. We don't have any protection outside of the Pithing Needle. So by the time we make our 20/20, they'll be able to do stuff. I think we have to mulligan something quicker. This is quicker. We will keep this hand. One of these has to go away. It's probably just a Sylvan Scrying. Play this. Play this. Play this, name of Wasteland. Play our Lotus Petal so we can represent the what's it called? Crop rotation. Okay, Chrome Mox. So our opponent might not even be on Wasteland. They might just be on the faster combo build, but the Goblin from the unset isn't in the format yet, so they probably don't have that as a plan. Another Mana Confluence. All right. Is a 2020 good enough here? So we've already named Wasteland, so we don't have to worry about that. I don't think they're going to be playing Sudden Edict. But if they are, we'd rather it hits our Hexmage than our Dark Depths. Although, is that true? Yes, it is, because we'd lose the land as well. I think we kind of have to let the Warren Instigator hit us, though. Because they might be playing Sting Scourger, which they can only cast it. Okay, they didn't have it. We got the kill on turn 3. We killed them. Cool. So we are Dark Depthsing people. We played against some slightly... decks you see slightly less. Obviously, the Storm deck you're seeing a bit more because Brian Cook did so well with it the other day. All right, round 3. Let's keep going. Okay, we're on the die roll. That's where we want to be. This is a turn 2 kill with protect. Turn 2 2020 with protection, because this becomes an Urborg, and then we play this out on the second turn, and then we have the Knot of this World to protect our guy. So we could have played out the Sejiri Steppe instead of the Dark Depths here. A Wasteland, sure. Interesting. A Gemstone Mine. Does that change anything here? I think we're probably waiting one more turn here, right? So you can play out the Gemstone Mine. Hold on. If we play out the Gemstone Mine here, if we tap this for black, we can just tap this for black, black, and play this, but then they'll hit that in response. So I think we just wait a turn. Because we could play out the Hexmage, but if they've got a Lightning Bolt or something, then we're in trouble. Now I have to imagine our opponent's playing Delver. That seems the most likely situation here. So we now have to play around Days as well. The best draw for us here would be an Urborg. Okay, best draw is best. So tap black and black. I will cast this little lad. Or lady, I suppose. So we can crop rotate here for a Wasteland in our opponent's turn. So I think we're going to do that. Or in response to a Lightning Bolt or something. Probably sacrificing our Urborg. Double Wasteland. Okay. That's a little bit trickier to deal with. Pithing Needle would be a great draw. It's not a Pithing Needle. I'll play this one out. Start attacking, I suppose. So we can beat these. So we can pay 2 here to... So we pay these 2 to make this target this. And then we have crop rotation around Days back up. So we've got some stuff going on here. A Ponder, sure. Force of Will probably beats us though, but such is life. There's the Ponder we knew about. Another Wasteland is pretty bad for us. We'll take 3 this turn. We'll see what they Wasteland when we go to Wasteland, when we go to activate our Thespian stage. So this will target this. They'll go to Wasteland it. And then we crop rotate the thing they're Wastelanding away. We've got to get through these Wastelands at some point. So they're cracking their Misty Rainforest. Unholy Heating our Vampire Hexmage. Interesting. I guess that works. And now they're going to Wasteland our Dark Depths probably. So we're going to Wasteland our Dark Depths. So I'm going to cast Crop Rotation, sacrificing the land they're targeting. So what we can do is we can get another Thespian stage here. We are playing around Days with this. Okay, so this is an interesting choice here. So we can get another Thespian stage, or we can get a Ghost Quarter here. If we get the Ghost Quarter, they might just snap off a Wasteland on our Thespian stage. If we get the Thespian stage, we just need more mana, right? Get a Thespian stage. So once we play this Dark Depths, we have enough to activate 2 Thespian stages. Alright. I think we're supposed to do it now because Brazen Borrower is their only out. They've got 2 Wastelands or 1 Brazen Borrower. So I think we just go black, black, Thespian stage, target Dark Depths. If they Wasteland it, we use this other Thespian stage. Sure. Target this, paying white and black because we have an Urborg. Choose a Dark Depths to keep. We need the one without counters on here, which is that one. Okay, so we have the Sejiri Steppe to make our guy unblockable, and we have the Knot of this World to keep our guy alive. So there's no Brazen Borrower coming in now, so I think we have this one. There's no 1 mana bounce effect they play. They might be able to play... Have they got... I'm just trying to see if they've got Delirium or not. Land, instant, sorcery. No, so they don't have Delirium, so they couldn't have played a lad. So we play this. This targets this guy. We name blue. Alright, so we navigate that game pretty well, I thought. On to the sideboard. So we have options here. Layer on the Void massively slows down Delver decks. And buys us a lot more turns. The question is it turns we need? Or is it protection? That is an interesting question. So Flusterstorm is okay, but I don't really think that's where we want to be. We're more worried about Wastelands than anything else. If they have a Blood Moon, then that's going to really body us, I think. But that's what the Thoughtseize are hopefully trying to do. It's a case of whether or not we want these ley lines, or are we just pre-boarded against Delver. I think we're pre-boarded against Delver, more or less here. Like, crop rotation is one of the things that can be a little bit weaker. So maybe we can trim on crop rotation because we don't want to crop rotate into our opponent's counter spells. Do we want to get rid of all of our crop rotations though? Possibly. So if we just swap crop rotations out for Layer on the Void. So we're going slower because we're not having crop rotations. But our opponent's going slower because we've got ley lines. And this plays into counter spells, this doesn't. So I think this is the slightly preferable switch here. We can rejigger it up for game 3 if there is one. This one has protection from Wasteland and has the combo on turn 3 if we can resolve the Sylvan Scrying. But is that good enough? I think we can keep this one. It's sort of the lower end of ones I would like to keep, to be honest. A Ponder. Okay, that's a good start for us. Every time they don't deploy a threat is another draw step we get to see this game. Our opponent mulled to 5, I think. No, they mulled to 6, sorry. Yeah. Sure, they can have a bauble. What is the top card of our library? It's a Dark Depths. Okay. So we go Gemstone Mine. Then we'll play this Pithing Needle. I think our opponent has some form of counter magic by the amount of time this has been on the stack for. A day, sure. We're more or less just trying to blunt force our way through here. Hopefully our opponent has overboarded. Okay, another Ponder. Let's see what this one does. They didn't shuffle off their first Ponder. So I imagine they probably had a Wasteland within their cards, because that's pretty much what you're looking for at this stage, I think. Threats and Wastelands. They did not shuffle their library again, sure. A Knot of this World, that'll be useful later on. Let's play the Sylvan Scrying. We've got another days and want to set yourself back another turn. I don't mind, because that makes your Wastelands less effective. Force of Negation, pitching Force of Will. Sure, so we just cast a little cheeky Hymn to Torak there in green. 1, 2, 3, 4. So they can cast a Murktide this turn, which is pretty bad news for us, because that's a quick clock. Unfortunately, it's not a legendary creature. Maybe it should be. Alright, so what do we got here? We've got Karakas, we've got Dark Depths. Let's play out Dark Depths. I think we're probably losing this game now. Our hand was on the very low end of what I would have liked to have kept, and we've only drawn lands, so there's a Wasteland. Are they going to snap it off now? No, we are representing crop rotation, so they're probably unlikely to Wasteland us right now. An Elvish Spirit Guide. Interesting. So we'll play this one out. And we could play an Elvish Spirit Guide to potentially save us 1 damage if this Delver doesn't flip. But I think it's better to have surprise mana to pay around something like Daze if that happens. Surgical Extraction, sure. So they can wasteland our Dark Depths and Surgical Extract it. We will concede the game. So if we'd have had a ley line, we'd have bought ourselves a few more turns. But if we'd have had a crop rotation, we can play around wastelands more. So I think I'm just going to bring these crop rotations back in on the play. I think it's easier to play around your opponent's counter magic on the play as well. Okay, so we got Thoughtseize into Sylvan Scrying into Dark Depths. I think this is keepable. We could use the Boseiju to blow up a wasteland if that becomes a thing we need. We'll start out with this one. Let's see what you're working with, opponent. Interesting. I think we should either be taking the Ponder or the Delver. I think because our hand is a bit slow, we're going to take the Delver and buy ourselves some turns here. Especially since we've got this Daze to play around. I don't think it's worth taking the Daze there either. There's a Volk. There's the Ponder. Yep. Really like to draw an Urborg or a Yavimaya. They did not shuffle their library. Sure. There's the Bauble. Baubling us. What have we got? A Dark Depths. Don't really want to play the Dark Depths out because it doesn't tap for mana. And we can't play into the Daze, so we just pass a turn here. A Brainstorm from our opponent. Sure. And we know they've got a Scalding Tarn to improve this with. We may have to play the Boseiju next turn so we can Sylvan Scrying around a Daze. Which, again, we know they have. Now, they could shuffle the Daze away. But I think you want interaction. And, like, Unholy Heat isn't very good interaction for what we're doing. There's a Scalding Tarn. Cracking the Scalding Tarn. So I don't think they're going to have the Unholy Heat. But we'll leave it up there for now. I'm pretty sure I would personally get rid of it if I had it in hand. So I assume they must be doing the same. A Thespian's Stage, you say? That's a pretty good one. So let's Sylvan Scrying. So we can get Bojuka Bog to slow down things, or Force of Will pitching the Daze that we knew they had. That's interesting to me, because they know we have a Dark Depths because they've seen it with the Mishra's Bauble. So that's quite an interesting play to me. That makes me think our opponent has a Wasteland in hand. Creature, yep. Only taking 1 from this, which is pretty handy. No Wasteland from our opponent. A Hexmage. We have 3 cards here. So I can just make a 20/20 now and try and just get around the Brazen Borrower. But I can't beat Daze if I do that. I can't beat Daze and Brazen Borrower. If I play out the Hexmage, I can beat the Daze and the Brazen Borrower. I can't beat double Daze Brazen Borrower. Also, if I do this, we lose multiple things. Right, let's make this. No Stifle. Lovely. Alright, so now we've got Not of This World around a Daze. This is Lightning Bolt to our face, perhaps. Unholy Heat. They're targeting their own guy. That's interesting. Oh, this guy's indestructible, but you can still target it. They're doing this just to surveil. Okay, they left the card on top. That's a little bit worrying. They did keep the Unholy Heat rather than shuffling away. That means they must have had bad stuff. That's so weird that they did that, because, like, they just sacked their guy off for no reason there. So we get to see what the card we need to beat on top of the library is. Is it a Brazen Borrower? Brainstorm. Okay, so that's not a Brazen Borrower. Murktide Regent, sure. So maybe they're going for a line where they try and beat us down. So this... okay, so if we play out the Dark Depths, we can make another guy if we need to. But I'm going to cast this crop rotation, sacrificing our tapped land. Okay, so we go get Sejiri Steppe, give our guy Pro Blue, smash through, and we win the game. Alright, so pretty glad we boarded these back in, because our opponent kept a lot of Force of Wills and stuff like that as well. So it's always a bit dicey with the crop rotations, but you just have to pick your spot with them, really. Because at this point, if they counter that, that's probably not the end of the world for us. All right, we are 3-0 in relatively quick fashion. So let's jump on to round 4. This is a turn 3 kill with Pithing Needle for... yeah, turn 3 Merit Lage. That's probably okay. Is this going to be a challenge to the void? A defense grid. Okay, so our plan is not going to be good here. What are we supposed to do here? Like, we're probably supposed to play out Pithing Needle. But what are we supposed to put it on, is the question. Now, our opponent is probably not a Wasteland deck. If they're running Defense Grid, they could be the Epic Gamble, which doesn't give us a lot of targets for our Pithing Needle. Interesting. It could be like a Karn deck, like the Karn Echoes deck. Or I could just be looking at hitting something like a Mishra's Bauble. Like, we don't have a lot of options here. But I think we kind of need to pick one now, otherwise we're likely to lose. Let's try Karn the Great Creator here. This might not go so well for us. Grim Monolith, okay. That's certainly a card I expected to see from our opponent. So, play this out. We can tap for 1 and go and get Dark Depths, and it's still not enough. So we need one more turn, and we can make a 20/20. Now, is that going to be quick enough? I suspect not, because our opponent is going to have a lot of mana this turn. Another defense grid. Okay. That's a pretty weak one. Not of this world. So that's not really very useful because of defense grid. But hey-ho. So I think this goes green. We will crop rotate this away. We'll go and get Dark Depths. Tap this for black and this for black. So this targets this. We'll keep the one without counters. It'll become a 20/20. And let's see what we can do. This is going to be a matchup where having all these things to protect our guy are going to feel really weak. Okay, they just had nothing. Sometimes you get lucky. I assume that our Pithing Needle on Karn was good. So, Collector Roof feels like it's going to be our friend here. Force of Vigor is an interesting one because it's not going to be very useful in the face of their counter spell, in the face of their defense grid. But we can still cast it on our turn sometimes. So these things that interact, like our opponent's deck is going to be playing prison pieces, not interaction spells. So these are going to be less useful for us. Do I think our opponent, like the Tower of the Magistrate might be pretty useful. Maybe we should have this instead of a Sejiri Steppe. Or we can just put it in this extra slot so we've got another land, but I think they might still have some sort of like, if they're in blue, they might have like bounce spells or something. So the Sejiri Steppe might be useful there. Like we've still got these Sylvan Safekeepers, which can pressure Planeswalkers a little bit. I say pressure, it's in the loosest of terms. So our opponent's probably going to be boarding in things like Chalice as well, which is not our friend. But we can win through Chalice. Is this about the best we're doing, I think? All right. I'm assuming our opponent is on the Karn deck. What does this hand do? This is Sylvan Scrying for Dark Depths on turn 1 if we want it, but then that doesn't really go anywhere. We can go turn 1, Sylvan Scrying for Dark Depths, turn 2, play the other petal, play the Dark Depths and kill them the turn after. Alright, turn 3 kill. That's fine, maybe. Okay, maybe we should have brought in the ley lines as well. If they're going to be echoing. Probably should have seen that coming. Okay, they are just the epic gamble here, maybe. Alright. I thought they were more on one of these sort of big carny prison-y decks. But that's probably my bad. Okay, we're just echoing around. If I can get any acceleration, I think we can win the game by playing Collector Roof. We did not get any acceleration. But our play here is relatively clear. Let's Thoughtseize our opponent and see if we can survive another turn. Our opponent's hand does not look very good. Not sure what we're taking here. Maybe the Petal. We could have taken one of the red spells, because that can kind of shut off a Chromox as well. But we kind of want our opponent to go all in on Chromoxes. There's the Ancient Tomb. Okay, so this turn I would rather play a Collector Roof than anything else. Hold on, how much mana can they produce here? They have no red mana to get started with the Rite of Flame. So I think we just take a turn here and play this guy. At some point, we can just go and get a Dark Depths. Probably next turn. So the Shatter Skull. Overmaster. Sure, this is just a cantrip. So this turn we have a choice. We can either play... wait, we don't have the second green source, do we yet? We need a second green or a second black. So I think this turn we are just casting a Thoughtseize on our opponent. And we'll take the red source here. And then we'll play our second black source. Target them. We can crop rotate now if we want to. I think that's probably okay. Just in case we get wheeled, I'd rather have our Dark Depths in play. Okay, they get 2 draw steps. This one and the one next turn. Do we have anything we want with this Sylvan Scrying that can help us out here? We're definitely playing this out. I think we're definitely going black to play this Hexmage. Do we play out a second Hexmage, or do we play out the Sylvan Scrying? I guess we can play the Sylvan Scrying next turn if we need anything. Okay, they're just scooping. So what happened in that game is we got lucky twice in a row. And that's what you need to do well in Magic sometimes. This matchup is not great, but they do have a reasonable amount of variance in their deck, and they wheeled twice and went nowhere with it. And we just got to do our thing. We have a very, very powerful sideboard card in Collector Roof. So yeah, we are 4-0 going into the trophy match. On the play for the trophy match, which is where we're going to be. What does this hand do? If we get this, we get the I don't think we can keep this one. I think we need something better. Okay, this constitutes better. I think we will keep this and we'll bin off a Safekeeper. We don't have any green mana is the only issue with our hand. But green mana is plentiful. So let's start from the Urborg. So we can get punished here if our opponent wastelands us. But if we get a green mana here, then we can just win the game. So we need a green mana. Well, we need a green land, basically. Okay, a basic plains from our opponent. We've got a lot of protection for our Marit Lage once we make it. A Dark Depths. That's not the one we wanted. But we'll play it out. We've got a spare one. If they are a Wasteland deck, they might be incentivized to target this. Or they'll be mean and target our Urborg. So, it's definitely arguments for mugging this one that we had, but I think it's okay. City of Traitors. Okay, so we're playing an initiative matchup here. A White Plume Adventurer. Sure. We don't really care about the White Plume. We should be able to clock our opponent before this is lethal. So if we draw a Vampire Hexmage this turn, we get to win the game. If we draw a green land, we get to win the game. And we can do all that through double removal spell. So pretty happy with our chances. Yikes. Sure. We're in the same situation we were in last turn, except our opponent now gets to attack us for 5. We have 2 legends that we already have in play, so that sometimes happens. Oh, interesting. They're going... Okay, so this makes me think my opponent doesn't have removal in hand if they're going down the Scry route. Because they want to be able to deal with our Marit Lage if we can make it next turn. Again, we have all the green lands on our deck, which is like, what, 8, 9, 10 lands, I think? And we've also got the 4 Vampire Hexmage. That's 14 out of 52 cards. And we've been on that for a little while, so we should be alright, I think. Statistically speaking, we should be able to win this game. Especially since our opponent didn't forge, that takes a turn off the clock. They just let a City of Traitors go without tapping it for mana. Interesting. Bashing with the White Plume. Ouch. Untap your guy. Do we get to draw one of those many cards I listed off? No, we don't. Sure. Okay. Okay. Well, we got super lucky in the last round, and now we're getting super unlucky in this round. So, Magic God's evening it out a little bit. And that's fine. Sometimes you're going to get done that way. Like, again, we could have mulliganed this hand to a 5. But like I said, we didn't need a lot for this hand to pop off. Cleric. So this looks like potentially another White Plume. It could be the Elite Spellbinder, which we don't really care about. They just go their own creature. Okay, that means they want to get to the card draw. Not one you see very often, but Sylvan Scrying. That is not one of the cards we required. So we're just going to sit here and discard one of our many Urborgs. If this was a Yavimaya instead, then we have won the game by now. But alas, 'tis not to be. They're just going to run through the whole Throwing the Dead 3 here. At least our opponent doesn't seem like they've got a lot of action. But if they've got loads of stuff in their hand that they're not casting, I'm kind of worried that it's just more removal than we can handle with our Dark Depths. Which is certainly a possibility. There's a City of Traitors. They could play a Seasoned Dungeoneer here. Ideally, we don't want our opponent to play anything this turn. We want it to play next turn. So they're tapped a little bit lower. But, okay, so this comes in for 4, potentially this turn. And then next turn comes in... Oh, wait, they're getting Thrown the Dead 3 as well. So they might get even more creatures. Let's see what they find. Chancellor of the Annex. Weird. That's a pretty good one, though. Not one I was expecting, truth be told. So this turn, I'm not sure that our thing does it because of the Chancellor. If we draw a Thespian stage, that does it. Oh, so there's another 4 cards we could have drawn as well. Yeah, so we had at least 18 outs for these last few turns. Weirdly, this is one of the few things that actually does it, but we have to do it on our turn if we want to cast it. Right? So we go, add 1 black, play this, keep this one. Oh no, because we needed to crop rotate, didn't we? We've made a mistake there. We needed to float black and then crop rotate it. Yeah, we needed to float black, crop rotate it, then play the other Urborg. And so we'd have a 20/20, but we're taking... what creature type is this? Angel. So we're taking 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 potentially next turn. I need 4. Have we just punted this game? Is there a way we can get back here? So if we... Spirit Guide... No, we just punted that game. Sure. We had to get through 6 cards in our opponent's hand, but we definitely punted that one. Alright, so what is going to be useful here? Dismember has some real text on it. The Sylvan Safekeeper is one of the things I wanted for this matchup, because we need to mess with our opponent's hand. We don't really care about Pithing Needles. Touch of the Spirit Realm is the only thing we really want to name. But I think Sylvan Safekeepers are just going to be better most of the time. The Stifle can also do the same thing. Maybe we want 1 Pithing Needle over this and we just don't care about their creatures. Right, like this. Alright, let's try this. Yeah, we punted that game. We still might not have won because our opponent had 6 cards in hand. But we could have made a 20/20 there. I got my sequencing slightly messed up. That's what happens last game of the night. Alright, we're on the play. What does this hand do? It doesn't make a 20/20. Mulligan. What does this hand do? That's for black there. And then... So this makes a turn 2 20/20 with Not of This World backup. So we can keep this. So we keep our Hexmage. We have to keep our Dark Depths. We have to keep these... we kind of need both our crop rotations. It's a little bit awkward. This Sejiri Steppe is real bad. No, it's still fine, right? This taps for black. So we play out. So we have 2 lands in play. The Gemstone Mine taps for black. We crop rotate this into... no, we need the Urborg as well, don't we? Oh, damn. I think we're supposed to play Sejiri... We're supposed to get rid of Sejiri Steppe and draw any other land. That feels wrong, right? No. So... Yeah, no. This is fine. But we have to use both crop rotations, don't we? If we want it to work. This is tricky. So the Gemstone Mine... Sacrifice crop... we play the Gemstone Mine on 1. And then we can crop rotate it into Urborg. Then we untap, tap it for black, crop rotate away, using our Spirit Guide, crop rotate the Sejiri Steppe into another black source. Into the Dark Depths, which taps for black now. Then we cast our Vampire Hexmage. So we need both of our crop rotations. It's a case of, would I rather have protection Or I think I'd rather have protection, so I'm going to throw the land back and draw any other land. It's risky. It sure is risky, but I don't think we beat the... Okay, so the Chancellor's a bit annoying, but it does mean they've got a dead card in hand. City of Traitors. Lotus Petal. Probably playing a guy here. Which guy are you playing? That guy. Sure. Which might be a turn slower because of the Chancellor now. Which might be pretty relevant for us trying to win this game. A Karakas. So we make the 2020 on turn 3 instead. Let's play the Karakas. We crop rotate, paying the 1 from the Chancellor to go and turn this into a Urborg. And then we can crop rotate into a Dark Depths as well on our turn. Wait, could we have done that on... Oh, we should have done it on our turn, right? No, because this doesn't tap for... And this pays the 1, so we have green, 1/1. Yeah, we could have made it then. Jeez, what am I doing? Having a real mare in this game. This taps for 2, so I have 3 mana, so that's 2 crop rotations, which is what we needed to cast this. Yeah, so we should have had a 2020 and play this turn. And I've just completely screwed it there. Yikes. Embarrassing. So I think we're going to crop rotate now. So we're going to add 1 first, and then we're going to crop rotate, pitching this. Yes, I'm going to pay the 1. Then we go and get the Urborg. And we untap. Sure, you can untap your guy. So we can play this one out. This will tap for green. And we will crop rotate it away. We could have done this last turn. And I wonder if we're going to get punished for that. And then we'll play this guy off of black. And we'll pass a turn. So we can block with our Hexmage to save us some damage if we want. In case things go wrong. But I think we can just take the 3 and then make a massive guy. We've got 1 protection. We've got 1 layer of protection. We know 2 of the cards. No, this is the planes they played, isn't it? So we know 1 of the cards in our opponent's hand. So maybe... Okay, let's go for a stash. So this Chancellor is going to get pitched to a Solitude. I have to imagine. We got a piece of protection. Is it good enough? Do they have another one they cast off this stash? Or a Solitude? We can't touch the Spirit Realm here because they don't have 2 mana. Looks like we're getting ploughed. March of Otherworldly Light. Sure. So they sandbagged the better one to hit our guy with, so we don't gain 20 life. Not great for us. Thespian stage. Sure. So we need 1 more card. So we need a Dark Depths. We got 3 of those. We need a crop rotation. We got 2 of those. A Sylvan Scrying probably isn't quick enough here. So our number of outs are diminished, I would say. I guess next turn we take 4, 5, 6, 7. They're almost certainly going to find a Seasoned Engineer off of there, which was going to be too much for us. Thoughtseizes. Can we afford to take 2 life? I don't think we can. We can probably play our little guy, though. There's our little blocker. So this will save us 3 life, unless they play a Seasoned Engineer off of the Throne of the Dead 3. In which case, we get nothing. Sweet nothing. Yeah, I think we're failing at the last hurdle. I think it's my 2nd failed trophy match of the week, actually. Oh, well. Yep, so there's a Seasoned Engineer, so we can't block either of their guys. They bash us for potentially 8. And I don't think we can beat what they've got in play. We don't have any blocks available to us. Oh, they've got protection from creatures on as well. That's why they've got the +1, so that's 8 here. And what do we need? A Vampire Hexmage. So we can shrink their Seasoned Engineer, but all of their guys are lethal. And we can't even kill ourselves in style, which is a shame. Right, we're just done there. So there's a possibility that we could have gone a turn earlier and maybe we would have got through the removal they had when I did the maths badly. So we might have been able to get through there. But again, if they did have a Solitude in hand, and considering what they were playing out was very reserved, I kind of imagine they did have a Solitude in hand, then we probably didn't have much of a hope there, which is a bit annoying. But let's talk about the deck. So we went 4-1, and we got lucky in the Storm rounds. like we had good sideboard cards to help us put the screws in, but I'm not going to lie, we did get lucky. So this one feels more like it was towards the 3-2 rather than 4-1. Obviously, you know, I'll take my treasure chest and enjoy them, but the meta at the moment has got very little control in, but it has a lot of combo in, and combo can be very difficult for us to deal with, because if it's a quick combo, like the combo decks that are coming to the fore at the moment, they're hard for us to beat because they go under us, which is a real issue. Whereas control, we can usually get through enough of their pieces for the most part, because we get the time to piece together the puzzle and to pick apart their hand, or have like the Pithing Needles in place, or get the, you know, we can usually work through a control deck relatively well. And the Delver matchup, again, we can work through it, but they sometimes can get you and they can Delver you because, you know, they are the best deck. So we beat one of the decks that needs banning in Delver, but we lost to the other deck that needs banning in White Initiative. So you know, splitting those matchups is fine, I guess. This felt pretty good. I did notice that I was having a little bit of trouble casting some of my spells, but I think that might be to do with the keep I kept. Both the keeps I had in the mono white matchup at the end were a little bit like on the very low end of being playable. Like the second one was actually better, but we made a slight miscalculation of how quickly we could go off because of the Chancellor of the Annex. Because in my brain, I was thinking, I'd done all the calculations of how much it would cost mana-wise at the start using the Sejiri Steppe, which comes in tapped. So when I got an untapped land, my brain didn't adjust for that on top of the Chancellor. So I kind of made a bit of a mistake there. Now, would we win the third game? I don't know. It's possible, but being on the draw against the initiative is difficult, I think. If they go turn 1 Chalice, they can shut off a lot of our hand. So we might end up with a hand that doesn't do anything. Now, we can just ignore them and play our lands and make a 20-20. But they have so many ways of killing your creature. So they've got 4 Swords to Plowshares. They have 4 Solitude. They have some number of March of Otherworldly Lights. Usually 2 or 3 at the moment. And if they force you to make your guy on your turn, they also have Palace Jailer. So they've got a lot of ways of interacting with our creature, which is kind of the problem with Marit Lage at the moment. Nevertheless, we definitely had some bits and pieces going on. I'm not even sure if the Sylvan Safekeeper is where we want to be. I think maybe I'd have preferred some discard there. But the fourth Not of This World feels like an essential must-have to play this deck, to be honest. I wouldn't play this deck without 4 Not of This World. It'd be nice to have like another similar effect, but yeah, I'm not sure I don't think there's anything we can play outside of some sort of thing that costs us mana to play, which is kind of the issue. But I think this deck is fine. I think Steely Resolve might be better than Sylvan Safekeeper in some of the matchups where you want it. So against the initiative, instead of needing like, oh, I need to have 2 or 3 Not of This Worlds, you can just have 1 Steely Resolve in play. And if you're unfamiliar with Steely Resolve, it's 1 and a green enchantment. As it enters the battlefield, you name a creature type. Creatures of that type have Shroud, so it's not hexproof, so you can't target it with things like Sejiri Steppe to push through. But if you've got a 20-20, you should be able to win the game with that anyway. And I think it's better than keeping your opponent. It's better than trying to like counter your opponent's kill spells and stuff. And so that would be quite a good one because you name Avatar, which is what Marit Lage is, unless they've changed it in the last few years. But Steely Resolve is a card I always used to play in the sideboard when I played like a slower depths build. But I think that might actually be where we should be going with this deck. And I'll probably play this again at some point because I really love playing Dark Depths decks. They're like, it's like a puzzle trying to piece together not only your combo, but also playing around your opponents. But I think I would probably get rid of the Safekeepers for more discard. I think that's probably where I'm looking at. And I'm kind of tempted to try and play a green-black build. So we'd be missing on the Mana Confluences and the Gemstone Mines, which probably means you're playing like... you could play a basic. Now, I don't think this deck really wants to play basics as a general rule. But you could play 4 Verdant Catacombs, 4 bayous. Sorry, 4 Verdant Catacombs, 3 bayous, and a forest or something. But I think you might be better off just playing, if you wanted to do that route, go 4 bayous and 4 of the fast lands. But then you've got to say, why am I running these lands when I could be running rainbow lands, which are basically the same, except they give us the ability to play things like Flusterstorm if we want to, as well as making it so that we can dodge Submerge, because Submerge is a card that is seen a little bit of uptick in play, because Elves has been relatively strong of late. The Delver players are picking up 1 or 2 Submerges sometimes, so you may as well just dodge that by having these rainbow lands, I think, and you can play some things like Flusterstorms in the sideboard, so I think it does give you more tools. Whether or not the Stifle was necessary, I don't know, but I do think Stifle is better now than it's been for a while in the format. But maybe we just want more discard. Like, the Stifle is for wastelands and things, and Karakas, so maybe that is right, because then you just got 4 effects like that with a Pithing Needle, and it can also stifle a Solitude. So there's a lot of work. Stifle is one of my favourite cards ever printed, because it's like so weird and niche, but actually has so many applications. I think it's a really cool design. So maybe we want more Stifles, maybe we want less Stifles, maybe we want more discard. That's definitely options, but I'm definitely going to cut the Safekeepers next time I play. I don't think you want Into the North in this deck. Some people run that because it accelerates out the Dark Depths, but I prefer Sylvan Scrying every time, because Sylvan Scrying can go and find you a Boseiju, among other things. And I think having the land in your hand is quite often better. And the fact that it can get any land, whereas Into the North can only find you the Dark Depths, doesn't seem very helpful to me, because sometimes you need the Thespian stage, or the Urborg, or whatever. Or, you know, you're in a pinch, you need a Cracker. So I think Sylvan Scrying is where it's at. But I think we're done there. I think the league obviously went well, and I think the result is better than the deck. But we played pretty tight in all the games apart from the last one, I thought. The last one, I must be tired and losing my mind, really. But that was not a great exhibition there. But we got there in the end quite nicely, I thought. And we got 4 treasure chests for it. And I think we've got quite a lot of things to be working on with this deck. So that's a bonus. All right. I'm quite tired, so I'm obviously rambling away. So I'm going to say goodbye now. But let me just say, like, comment, subscribe. These cost you nothing and they help me out. If I can get 1,000 subscribers, then I can get some money back for doing this. And that would be nice. All right. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.